Please be seated. I'd like to welcome you all this morning to the mayor-making ceremony. Before we begin, I would briefly like to address the unusual circumstances of today's meeting. We are together for the first time in over a year, and owing to the need to maintain social distancing rather than being in the council chamber, we're obviously here at Pride Park Stadium. I'd like to thank all councillors, officers and guests who are able to join us this morning. The members of the public who are watching the meeting online, and our hosts here at Derby County Football Club. Councillors, it's great once again to see you all in person. But I would like to take a few moments to reflect on the dreadful circumstances of the last year. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on our lives and livelihoods, both in Derby and across the world, to an extent that few of us could have envisaged. As I have done on several occasions throughout my term of office, I would like to pay tribute and one final time to the people of our great city of Derby, who have dealt with the tragic circumstances we have all enjoyed with dignity and perseverance. Thank you. Thank you to the HNS workers who have risked their own safety to help others, and those employees of Derby City Council who have kept frontline services running throughout the pandemic. We have all been inspired what you have done, and I know the contribution made by many councillors of all parties has been immense. I would like to take the lead now here for 1 minute silence to recognise all of those who have sadly lost their lives as a result of the pandemic, but particularly to those Derby residents who have passed away due to this terrible disease. Their friends and loved ones are in our thoughts. I'd like you all to stand, please, so we observe 1 minute silence in their memory. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Right, item 1 on this morning's agenda is the election of the new mayor for the City of Derby for the next municipal year. I hope it's only for a year, but who knows? So it's my pleasure to request nominations for the position of mayor from each different party, whoever. Would like somebody to nominate, please? Right, Councillor Williams.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ware. I would like to nominate Councillor Robinwood for the position.
Are you saying any words about your nominee?
I would like to, Mr. Mayor, if there's no other nominations.
Okay. Carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Distinguished guests, Mr. Mayor, our youth mayors, fellow councillors and everybody else here present. It is with great pleasure that I am able to nominate Councillor Robinwood as the Mayor of the City of Derby for the next municipal year. I've known Robin for a long time. Robin actually is the longest serving member of Derby City Council. He was first elected in 1979 as councillor for Littleover, and after 14 years became the Mayor of Derby when there was an equal number of Labour and Conservative members. He has now represented Oakwood for another 14 years. He has always been given a comfortable majority by the electors whenever he stood, whether it's in Littleover or now in Oakwood. He has attended 51 mayor makings, including this one, and has known all 50 of the last mayors on first name terms. He has been a member of the Conservation Advisory Committee for a record 42 years. He is so passionate about Derby's history, our buildings, our culture, and he has always got amazing stories to tell. He has held office under administrations of all different colours and has chaired many committees, including Planning Control, and since 2019 has been part of the Cabinet team with the Culture, Leisure and Tourism portfolio. Robin lived with former Mayor Geoffrey Tillett for 40 years and formed a civil partnership with him in 2006. 6 years after Geoffrey passed away, Robin married Andy Flint legally and very publicly in the Derby City Council chamber, to which I was very proud and honoured to attend. Although born and bred in London, Robin can trace his ancestors back 420 years within Derby's inner ring road. He has many outside passions and interests, including the performing arts. But his passion is the City of Derby and every one of its diverse inhabitants. Fellow councillors, I hope that you will support me in this nomination for Councillor Robinwood to be the next Mayor of the City of Derby for the next municipal year. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, could I formally second that proposal? Good. I reserve my right to speak at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any other nominations? Fine, with no other nominations, I declare that Robinwood is elected as the Mayor for the City of Derby for the next municipal year. So we'll take a vote for that then now. So all those in favour, please show in the usual way. Right, thank you very much indeed. That's pretty unanimous. Okay. Right, okay.
Councillors and guests, and I'll just be a short break. Please be seated. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I will now ask you to take the formal declaration of acceptance of office. If you can repeat after me. I, Councillor Robinwood,
I, Councillor Robinwood,
have been elected
have been elected
to the office of Mayor of the City of Derby.
to the office of Mayor of the City of Derby.
Declare that I
Declare that I
take that office upon myself
take that office upon myself
and will duly and faithfully
and will duly and faithfully
fulfil the duties of it,
fulfil the duties of it,
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
I affirm my commitment
I affirm my commitment
to corporate parenting
to corporate parenting
in respect of the City Council's children in care,
in respect of the City Council's children in care,
and will encourage others to do so.
and will encourage others to do so.
I pledge to take every opportunity
I pledge to take every opportunity
presented to me by virtue of my role as a councillor
presented to me by virtue of my role as councillor
to promote the well-being of children in the care of the City Council.
to promote the well-being of children in the care of the City Council.
I undertake to observe
I undertake to observe
the code as to the conduct
the code as to the conduct
which is expected of the members of Derby City Council.
which is expected of the members of Derby City Council.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I'll stay here when you
Do that. Mr. Mayor's consort, youth mayors, Deputy Lieutenant, retiring Mayor, High Sheriff, distinguished guests, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. I would first like to thank my proposer and seconder for their kind words. I'm particularly pleased that my proposer was one of the female members of the Cabinet, because I think they have suffered a great deal of my teasing banter in meetings during the time that I've been a Cabinet member in the last 2 years. I want to thank my immediate predecessor, Mr. Frank Harwood, if for nothing else, for re-establishing the principle of serial moralities. The people of Derby have sacrificed a lot in the last 18 months. Some have lost their livelihoods. Some have lost their lives. Some have lost loved ones, and here I can share that emotion personally. Others have lost years of learning. Many have had to survive domestic abuse, and some have had the added strain of their own and others' mental and physical ill health. All of us have lost many of the things that we all took so much for granted for just a short time ago. All those people deserve better. They certainly deserve a better, safer, cleaner Derby, and above all, they deserve a council whom they have elected to act as mature adults and observe their own code of conduct to respect each other. They deserve a vibrant, regenerated city that embraces its heritage, everything that the new Museum of Making stands for. They deserve an inspirational resolution to the sad saga of our Assembly Room site. They deserve everything that the Morways Sports Village will offer by this time next year. They deserve to see the scar that has been Duckworth Square was bad enough. Yeah, Duckworth Square, languished for decades, transformed into everything that the Becketwell developers have promised. They deserve a restored Market Hall and Guildhall fit for our century, but celebrating the amazing architectural splendour that is unique to Derby. They deserve a culture-led recovery from the pandemic that only Derby's 8 Arts Council national portfolio organisations can provide. Derbyans deserve to celebrate again all the diversity of events, from the Caribbean Carnival to the big one, to Derby Pride, and to all the many diverse religious festivals that have such special meaning for so many people. Very shortly, we will be able to follow the extremely diverse and exciting Derby Ram Trail, bringing visitors to our city who would normally have travelled further afield, but this summer will be seeking new destinations closer to home. Such an increase in footfall will shore up the fragile economy of small businesses, particularly in our hospitality industry that has suffered so dearly during lockdown. I recognise that for many, the word Derby means Derby County Football Club, our hosts today. We can only wish them greater and greater success in the season ahead. There's also a huge number of people who deserve to be recognised for their heroic work during the last 18 months. And I hope, as your new first citizen, I will have a role to play in expressing our thanks to those people on behalf of you all. I'll be greatly assisted by my husband, the Mayor's Consort, Andy Flint, whom I married in the council chamber nearly 7 years ago. And I believe I'm writing history as the first male Mayor of Derby to be able to use those words. I sincerely thank all those of whatever political party persuasion who made that possible. I am humbled and honoured to find myself again in this position, and I was particularly moved to see that it was a cross-party vote. Thank you very much indeed, and I will do my utmost to repay your confidence in me. You know, earlier in the century, I told my late mother that I was thinking of standing again as a councillor some 12 years after standing down as a councillor for little over. She assured me quite confidently that she knew that I would not only be a councillor again, but I would also be Mayor of Derby again. I went to great lengths explaining to her that that scenario was quite impossible. It just shows I should have listened to her. Mother always knows best. Thank you for listening. And we now move to the election of the Deputy Mayor for 2021-22. Are there any nominations? Oh, sorry, Councillor Graves Senior.
Junior, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'd like to nominate Councillor John Evans.
Are there any other nominations? Councillor Poulter.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Alan Grimmadale. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to withdraw my nomination.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Poulter, have you a seconder?
I'm sure we have. Councillor Bartlett.
Councillor Hassel. Thank you. Councillor Poulter, can I invite you to back up your proposal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep it short, being as Alan Grace has withdrawn his nomination. I'm sure it was a worthy one, and I appreciate and understand that John Evans's nomination, why John Evans was nominated, and I'm sure his time will probably come. But in the circumstances, Alan Grimmadale is new to the council after this election, but not new because he's been a valued member of this group on 2 other occasions, both representing Shelliston and Cheddiston, and an excellent job he's done there. He's a past member of the Cabinet in your current role as Leisure and Culture, and there's not many other councillors any better known in the circles in the city than Alan Grimmadale, and he knows he has some very responsible roles, one of which currently is being the chair of the Skegness Children's Holiday Home, which he's taken on and is doing an excellent job at. Alan is a very personable person. He's developed, instead of his usual shaky hand man thing, he's given it a high five with everybody, and I'm sure he'll be able to adopt that, but Alan will be an excellent deputy for you as and when he's needed, I'm sure. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Hassel, you want to second? Are there any other speakers before I put it to the vote? Okay, can I have a show of hands then in favour of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Alan Grimmadell? And you are allowed to vote for yourself, Councillor Grimmadell. Thank you. Thank you. Those against? So that's, you are elected NEMCOM. Congratulations. I think at this point we will move out again.
Councillors, there'll now be another just short break. Thank you. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I will now ask you to take the formal declaration of acceptance of office. If you can repeat after me. I, Councillor Alan Grimmerdale,
I, Councillor Alan Grimmerdale,
having been elected to the office of the Deputy Mayor of the City of Derby,
to the office of the Deputy Mayor of the City of Derby,
declare that I
declare that I
take that office upon myself
take that office upon myself
and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it,
fulfil the duties of it,
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
according to the best of my judgment and ability.
I undertake to observe
I undertake to observe
the code as to the conduct
the code as to the conduct
which is expected of the members of Derby City Council.
which is expected of the members of Derby City Council.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank
Thank you. Would you like to take your seat?
Thank you. I will say a few words. Thank you very much indeed. No, at all. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, it's a great privilege and it's a great honour to stand before you as the Deputy Mayor of the City of Derby. I'm delighted to have been elected, so thank you indeed for all of your support. My wife and I, Louise, will support the Mayor of Derby and his deputy and his consort through the year. We look forward to that. And Robin, it's good to see you back for the second term. So a very short speech. Thank you very much indeed for your support. Very much appreciated.
Congratulations, Councillor Grimmerdale. Mr. Deputy Mayor, I look forward to working closely with you over the course of the next year, and with Louise, of course, who sent her apologies today. I think they've got the builders in, something like that, and as part of the mayoral team. The next item is to thank the retiring mayor. We'll now move to a motion to thank the retiring mayor as printed on the front of your agenda. Do I have a proposer, please? Councillor
Mr. Mayor.
Skelton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to propose the vote of thanks to Mr. Frank Harwood for the zeal, impartiality and ability with which he has discharged the duties of the office of the Mayor of the City of Derby for the past year, or should I say the past 2 years. Coronavirus has put a stop to most activities the Mayor does. Normally the Mayor's diary is packed full of events, things going on across the city, but of course that abruptly came to a halt in March 2020. Frank then volunteered to do a second year as Mayor, knowing that if it had been a new incoming Mayor, the year would have been, I suppose, very much of an anticlimax. So it would be better for somebody else to wait until after coronavirus had subsided somewhat. So when Frank was newly elected as Mayor, many of us, of course, knew that he had been for many years a Football Association referee. So we were kind of half expecting to see some red and yellow cards on his desk beside him in full council meetings, and perhaps a whistle as well. But as it turned out, we were all very well behaved, so none of that was ever needed. But I think we do need to really thank Frank from the bottom of our hearts that he was willing to take on a second mayoral term in these extraordinary circumstances. So Frank, can't quite see you where you are at the moment. I think, yes, just behind the pillar. Our sincere thanks to you. You have really done an excellent job over these last 2 years. Thank you very much.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nater and Councillor Atwell raise their hands. So shall we take them? The first one is Councillor Nater for the record. Thank you. Councillor Nater, do you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just echo Councillor Skelton's words. Thank you.
Any other speakers? In which case, I would like you to show, by show of hands, those in favour of the motion as printed. That is carried. Thank you very much. Sorry. At this point, we invite the retiring Mayor, Mr. Frank Harwood, to address the meeting.
I'd like to first thank Councillor Skelton for her kind words and for Councillor Nater, who seconded Councillor Skelton, for his seconder. And thank you very much indeed. I'm pleased to have here this morning the former Sheriff of Derbyshire, Tony Walker, CBE, who I know is representing today the Lord Lieutenant and the Sheriff, who unfortunately can't be at this event. Distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I've already welcomed you this morning, but I'd like to again say how pleased to see you all here, and I'm particularly pleased to welcome to this event the people online. This morning is an opportunity for me not to dwell on the past year, but to reflect on the past 3 years. First as the Deputy Mayor of our city, and then to make comments about also the 2 years as the Mayor. First, 2 facts. I'm the first Mayor of Derby to serve 2 successive years in office for 144 years. I'm also told that I'm the first person to hold the office as a Deputy Mayor and then 2 years as a Mayor for over 250 years. So irrespective of what went on in those years, as somebody said, Frank, they can't take that achievement away from you. Certainly my time as a Deputy Mayor was the most pleasant. In a football term, both on and off the field. I attended 73 events and everyone was memorable, superbly arranged by Colette Flood in the mayoral office, who throughout her time when I was Deputy Mayor was available 24/7 and even ensured that my wife Anita, the Deputy Mayoress, and myself was fully aware of what to expect and who to meet. This was further enhanced by the 3 mayoral drivers, Mick, Maroof and Duncan. Or should I say 4, because Colette Flood in her own car ensured that 3 events were covered when no drivers were available. 2 being on a Saturday evening. 1 was the Derbyshire Black Police Association's 20th anniversary celebration dinner, which went on until very late. I anticipated that despite Colette leaving the mayoral position, if I was elected, the mayoral office would follow the same path. However, to again use the football term, it changed completely. On the field, fantastic. Off the field, unbelievable. and that's an understatement. However, I will not dwell on the problems that occurred, but to say that in the 9 months until COVID put a stop to nearly all the events, I had undertaken over 300 engagements, and it was a fantastic pleasure to meet the wonderful people from all over our city. Whether it was opening a fish shop in Normington to meeting Her Royal Highness Princess Anne in Allington. It would be wrong for me to pick out any more because every event in Derby that I attended was memorable. In that 9 months, I attended 18 dinners with my wife Anita at most of them. I was privileged to meet many people who give their time freely for the benefit of the less fortunate. And I reflected that in the checks I made to numerous beneficiaries, to the number of charities at an event last Wednesday in the council chamber. I attended many events in Derby Cathedral, and on all occasions, on entering this wonderful building, it gave me goose pimples. To make a speech and read out a number of readings was the icing on the cake. On one occasion in the cathedral, my wife was unfortunately unable to be with me, so my granddaughter Leanne took her place. You can imagine, I'm sure, the comments that went on when Leanne was announced as my wife. I must mention 2 events that took place outside the city of Derby. The first was to be the guest at the Chinese Republic's 70th birthday celebrations in Manchester. Not only was I greeted by the Consulate General and his staff, but the red carpet was laid out and I was given unbelievable attention throughout the evening. The other was for my wife and I to be the chief guests at the British Showman's Guild dinner in Nottingham. That certainly didn't impress some of the Nottinghamshire dignitaries who were also in attendance. The abrupt end in the mayoral year in March meant that many of my charity events already either were put in motion to be arranged did not take place. Sadly, that included my mayoral dinner, which I had over 5,000 sponsorship lined up. In the last months of the mayoral year, which was extended to June, I attended 2 events. During that 9 months, I had 2 driver colleagues, Mick and Phil. Mick was the main driver, who was an inspiration both on and off the field, my football term again. His knowledge was absolutely invaluable, and his calm way he diffused situations was a credit to him and certainly a relief to me. Phil was an absolute professional, and he, like Mick, was a pleasure to be with. What assets they are to the council. I must be honest and say that if my term of mayor had not been cruelly interrupted, I would be retired in May 2020 from my councillor role in Oakwood. But subsequent events, and also being asked by 3 parties in Derby to stand as the mayor for another year, I changed my mind. I will further expand on that in due course at the right time, but certainly not today. But I will take this opportunity to thank the 3 parties concerned, Labour, Liberal Democrats and Reform parties, for the faith they showed in me by voting for me to be mayor again in 2020-21. It would have been disaster for a new mayor had one been elected, because they probably would have only had the full council meetings, services in the cathedral and virtual meetings throughout the year. However, during the year, I did attend 3 outside events in the year, presenting the cups at the Jackson and Butterley Cricket Cup finals, and also opened a supermarket. Although I was not officially on duty, I was announced as the Mayor of Derby. My sincere apologies to the Deputy Mayor, Belva Sandu. It was disappointing that you hardly had any events, even during the 9 months that were normal. And also my apologies to the events that were turned down and those I expected to attend but not arrive. To be completely honest, I was not aware of them and only found after the events had taken place. Finally, It was a pleasure to meet so many influential people that makes our city tick. The previous Lord Lieutenant, Willie Tucker, and his charming wife. 2 High Sheriffs of Derbyshire, Lord Burnington and Tony Walker CBE. All the distinguished people at Derby Cathedral. Mel Morris, Chairman of Derby County, and former manager Frank Lampard. The Chief Executive of Derbyshire County Cricket Club, Ryan Duckett. The councillors of all parties who were at events, and I felt so comfortable in their presence. They went out their way to ensure that my visit was warm and affectionate. I won't name you, but you know who you are. And the same goes to a number of my former colleagues in the Conservative group who supported my election in the first place. And then to the councillors of upper parties who supported my re-election. To the Liberal Democrats, who I started with and returned to, my sincere, grateful thanks. If I missed anybody out, my sincere apologies. But I must mention the residents of Oakwood, who voted for me in 2008, 2012, and 2016 to be one of their councillors. To you residents, without you, I would never have been the Deputy Mayor, or indeed the Mayor of the City of Derby. I'm proud to be a resident of Oakwood. Thank you.
Thank you, retiring Mayor. We now move to the remaining items of business on the agenda for the first part of the meeting. Are there any apologies, please? Yeah. Councillor Lind.
Apologies from Councillor Willoughby.
Thank you. Any others? I think we can also take an apology from the Deputy Mayor's Consort. Right, thank you. Get the term correct. The next item of business is the appointment of the historic position of Pinder and Tenter. I will now move the motion as printed on the agenda to appoint the General Manager of Derby Live. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Webb. Those in favour, please show. Any against? Councillor Nater's against? Yeah. Oh, right. That is carried. Thank you. Before we adjourn, I really think a word of thanks, particularly to Jodie and Lucy and everybody who's made this successful today. It's been a huge amount of work, and I don't think anybody expected it. And there's been all sorts of controversies that they couldn't have foreseen. Well done to them. Thank you very much. I'll now move a motion to adjourn the meeting, and we'll reconvene at 3 o'clock this afternoon to consider the remaining items of business on the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Webb. Those in favour? Anybody against? Too late. The meeting is now adjourned.